Welcome, Lee here from Play Guitar Academy with another Why They Work video. This week, it's all about double stops. I've got two videos for you. In the first one today, I'm going to show you the easiest way to learn double stops across the fretboard. Then in the next video, I'll give you 5 double stop licks we can put together to create an entire solo. But what's different is that I'm going to take the time to explain each one so that you can learn why they work. But before we get started, make sure to get the most out of these lessons, you need to start opening up the entire fretboard and stop playing in just 1 or 2 patterns. So take a second to click the link in the description, download my free Big 4 scale pattern worksheet, and you can start changing your guitar playing and feeling comfortable playing all over the fretboard. Okay, let's get into it. Double stops are where chords and scales meet. They have properties of the harmony like chords, but they move around a lot like single notes. And they're super simple to play. They're just 2 notes that you can play together. And they're usually the notes that come straight from your chords. What's the best way to learn double stops? Well, you should start with a chord progression, map out where the double stops are in each position, and that's exactly what we're going to do today. So let's go ahead and get started. Today I'm playing in the key of A, and we're going to use a certain chord progression. We're going to use our A major chord. We're going to go to a G major chord. And then we're going to go to a D major chord. Back to the A. There are tons of different ways to play double stops, but today I'm choosing to build the classic double stop form. This features the major third of each chord, and these are 2 strings apart. In the A chord, we have 3 notes. We have an A, a C sharp, and an E. Those are the only notes in that chord. And what we want to do is find where our C sharp, that's the major third. Where is that in this chord? Well, in this chord, the C sharp is on the B string at the 2nd fret. So this is going to be our starting point. And what we want to do is find one other note from the chord that's 2 strings over. We're going to skip a string. So here, there's our C sharp. Well, I'm going to skip the G string and then go to the D string at the 2nd fret. That's an E note. That's the 5th of the chord. So this double stop uses the major third and the 5th. I'm using a hybrid approach where my pick is plucking the D string and then my middle finger is pulling the B string. And you can play them at the same time or one after each other and let them ring. You hear it both ways all the time. They're both really fun things to do in the middle of a solo. But this is our A chord. We have 2 other chords though. So now we have our G chord. Where is our major third in G? Well, G has 3 notes as well, G, B, and D. The B note, the one in the middle, that's our major third. Where is the B in this chord? Well, we have one very close to this first double stop we played in A. It's the same string. It's the open B string. Now, if we went 2 strings over from that, we have the open D string. It's the same shape as our first double stop, but using open strings. And that sounds nice. Has some voice leading to it. They're very close together. So if I play them together, you can hear the harmony of the chord progression going through, even though I'm not playing chords. I'm playing these little fragments of chords. Now, we have one more chord that we're going to take a look at. This is our D chord. In this open position, here's our D chord here. We have in D, we have a D, an F sharp, and an A. The F sharp, the one in the middle, that's our major third. And let's see, where is that in this chord? It's up on the high string. Here, so it's at the 2nd fret. So to make this classic double stop form, I'm going to pick the note from the chord that's skipping a string, 2 strings over. What this does is it puts the A note in the bass. So we have F sharp and A, that's the major third and the 5th of that chord, of the D chord. Very similar to the other 2. So if we put them all together, here's our A double stop, here's our G double stop, here's our D double stop. And back to the A double stop there. Let's move on up to third position at the third fret. If you put your first finger at the third fret, we've got third, fourth, fifth, and sixth. So that's kind of our grip that we have there. And we want to find an A chord, a G chord, and a D chord that sit in this area. So it's not going to be perfect. This is one of those positions that's a little in between both. I'm going to start with the higher A chord here. Do we have an A chord up at the fifth fret? It's the E-shaped A chord. And I'm going to need to find the major third there, the C sharp, like we did in the last one. That's at the sixth fret. Now, if I go 2 strings over from that, I get my nice high root note. This is going higher. This is a classic double stop you hear in a million songs, where the major third is on the bottom this time and the root note is on the top. So there's our A chord. Now let's go to our G chord. Well, that's going to be easy. Just like in the last double stop, we can just slide it down too. That's in our position here, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth. There's our G. So far, must sound familiar to you. It's in a million songs. But where we're at right now, we need to find a D chord. Well, here's the one that everyone plays back here. That's a little bit too far back. We're going to pick the C-shaped D chord here. Now, it's not a chord I usually use. It's a little awkward to play the full chord, but we can do a double stop from it very easily. The third of D, if you remember D, F sharp, and A, F sharp is the third, it sits right here. That's at the fourth fret of the D string. So I'm going to grab that, and I want to get another note that's 2 strings over. Well, in this chord shape, the D note, the root note, is two strings higher this way. And look at that. It's the same shape as our other 2 double stops. Can you hear the chords going by? Now moving up to our next position, this is at the 5th fret. First finger at the 5th, second finger 6th, third finger 7th, fourth finger 8th. What chords do we have here? For our A chord, we can use the same one. This is in this position here. That's at the 5th fret. It's an E-shaped A chord. And I'm going to use the same double stop as from before. I'm going to use the major third, which is at the 6th fret of the G string. And then I'm going to use the root note up on the high string there. So at the 5th fret, I'm going to stretch things out a little bit. So our A chord is obviously our E-shaped A chord at the 5th fret, with our C sharp being on the G string at the 6th fret, and then our root note being up at the top string on the high E string at the 5th fret. But now I'm trying to set something up pretty cool. I want to do some sliding. So our G shape in this area is this D here, but I'm going to actually borrow from the next G shape. So I'm going to grab the major third of G. This is going to be up at the 9th fret on the D string. And then I'm going to play the root note, the G, 2 strings higher on the B string at the 8th fret. So far we have our A. Back here, we have our G here. The reason why I picked this is because I want to slide into our next chord, which is our D chord. So our D shape at this position is an A-shaped chord here. And our major third is on the B string at the 7th fret. And 2 frets over, that's the A. That's our 5th of that chord. So we have a major third and 5th right there. So if we put all 3 of these together, there's our A double stop, there's our G double stop, there's our D double stop. And I like to use this little bit higher G for this. It sounds great going into the D chord there. Pretty neat sound. Okay, let's move into our next position. This is at the 7th fret. We have our chords, our A chord, G chord, and D chord. Let's find our A here. Our A here is this D shape right here. I'm going to use the major third. This is the C sharp up high. This is at the 9th fret of the high E string. And 2 strings over in that same chord, we have a 9th fret of the G string. So that is our E. So we have our major third up top and our 5th from the chord, from the A chord together. Now this is a different shape. It's straight across. It's similar to the first one that we did, but this is on the high string up high. Now our G shape, we have our C shape G in this position. Our major third is the B. In this one, it's up high as well too. And 2 strings over, we have our 5th, which is the D. So this is exactly the same as the one we did before, just sliding down 2 frets. There's our 9, there's our 7. Now we need to find the D. Well, we already have that in this position here. You remember we have it's either the G shape or the back of the G shape or the front of the A shape D chord, but it's really just the 7th frets right here, with the F sharp being the high note and then the A being the lower note. That's the major third high and the 5th lower. So we have, that's our A, there's our G, there's our D, back to the A. And finally, the last position, we're going to play at the 9th fret. So let's try and find our chords at the 9th fret. We need the A chord. Well, here, this is a C-shaped A here. And we've already used the back 2 notes of this. We know they're going to work. So we have our major third up top, our C sharp, on the 9th fret of the high E string. And then we have our 5th, the E, that's on the 9th fret of the G string. We can play those together. But now we need a G chord. Where's our G chord here? Well, it's an A-shaped G chord here. This is at like the 10th fret and the 12th fret. And our major third in G, if you remember, was a B note. We're going to find our B note from that chord. That's on the B string. So now I'm going to go 2 strings over and use the note that was in the chord. This is a D. So we've got our major third and our 5th from the G chord. So far A and G. Now, where's our D chord in this position? So this is at the 10th fret. It's an E shape at the 10th fret. And the major third is on the G string on the 11th fret. That's our F sharp. I'm going to go up high for this one now, just to make it interesting. And that is going to be our D note up at the 10th fret, along with this major third at the 11th on the G string. And that's a classic, classic sound. So putting them all together, here's our A double stop, then our G double stop, then our D double stop, and then our A double stop. You can hear the chords in that so well. Thanks for playing along today. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, this is a great time to do it. That way, when part 2 comes out, I can teach you how to mix these double stops with scales, and we'll play a solo together that I've made just for you. Thanks again for our Academy members over at PlayGuitarAcademy.com for tearing into the tab and Guitar Pro files from this lesson right now. And don't forget to download my free Big 4 scale pattern worksheet. That's going to make all of this easier for you. And as always, let me know what you think in the comments. Have a great practice. I'll see you in the next lick video.